Well-being is very important for working women, whether you're in corporate, employed, or otherwise. And I think it's important that we discuss some of the habits that can help them.
Today, I had the pleasure of engaging in a deep and insightful conversation with Krishna Maruthur, a psychologist and author with expertise in well-being habits, who recently penned on a book on well-being habits for working people. Together, we explored various dimensions that impact their well-being. I invite you to watch the entire discussion, and I hope you find it as enlightening as I did. Let me kick off the conversation with the book that you have recently authored, that is Well-Being for Working Women. I'm curious to know what inspired you to write a book focused on working women, well-being of working women. Was there any particular moment or an experience that triggered or sort of sparked that idea?
Well, first of all, thank you for inviting me to be on your podcast. It's wonderful to be with you. Thank you for that. Regarding the book, most of my formative years when I was much younger, I was growing up mostly with my mom and three sisters. My dad was away most of the time. He's a businessman. My elder brother is 9 years older to me, so there was a huge gap. So I spent a lot of my time with women. I was groomed and raised by women, you can say. My neighbors were women, my friends, my sister's friends, they're all women, right? And the trend continued in school, college, even in corporate years, bosses, neighbors, colleagues. So I spent a lot of time among women. It's not that men were not there. It's just that since I was raised by women, there's a little bit of comfort level. I was in co-ed. I spent a lot of time understanding the needs. They would converse with me. I generally did not treat women like women, another gender. That was like normal for me as an individual. So I know a lot of their pains, angst, ambitions. So a lot of struggles as well. So this book is a reflection of my understanding of spending time with women, what they go through. Also, consequently, most of my clients are also working women. Now, when I say working women, I don't see corporate or entrepreneurs, even moms. Like running a home is like running five different startups. So it's cognitively, emotionally challenging. So when I mean anybody who's working literally to to problem solve and overcome difficulties, challenges, etc. So yes, that is why this well-being is very important for working women, whether you're in corporate, employed, or otherwise. And I think it's important that we discuss some of the habits that can help them leverage their well-being. Yeah. So in a way, I can say that you have been very fortunate that you were surrounded by many women who inspired you to focus on some of the core aspects of life, and through their behavior, through the way they conduct themselves, you learned a lot, and you felt that this is something that needs to be taken care now. This is the need of the hour to write something about their well-being now. Yes, absolutely. Yes, I have learned a lot, definitely. And I've learned the difference between well-being of men and women. Definitely, the book is about the mind and perception and a little bit of brain, right? So it is gender neutral. But having said that, the effect of the well-being is more pronounced on women because they, from puberty to menstruation to, pregnancy to menopause, right? There are a lot of physiological, biological, irreversible changes that women go through that we don't. Absolutely. Absolutely. So, coupled with the emotional, physical challenges and the business challenges, they seem to have more intensity in their ill being or the opposite of well being. So, they tend to suffer a lot. So, when they practice the well being bit, they tend to gain a lot more. They are in an advantageous position than us. Obviously, it works for men as well. So I'm not discounting that men do not have or they don't suffer, but we don't have the biological or physiological irreversible frequent challenges that women go through. So that's the only difference. But it's equally valid for anybody with a brain and a mind, of course. Right, absolutely. It is very interesting, in fact. So, what do you believe are the most significant challenges that working women face nowadays in terms of their well being? And how do you think your book addresses those challenges? I think I will answer with a single, single point because though that's two-part question.
Mm-hmm.
Whether men or women, women are getting more and more women are getting into workplace. I'm not saying motherhood, that is happening by default, but you have people coming into corporate or entrepreneurship, startups, at the same time maintaining their family life, right? So it's
Mm-hmm.
a delicate balance. So I think the potential for burnouts, imposter syndrome, or being in the rat race, so to speak, also affects them more than the men, because men are just singularly focused. Of course, they are part of the family.
Yes.
I'm not discounting that. Father is equally important as a mother. But then I think mothers or women have a tendency to feel guilty,
Yeah.
especially as a mother, that I'm not able to give time. So I've seen most people taking a hiatus, take a break, and sabbatical, come back. They want to focus on the, raising children, come back to career. And then, again, so either ways, somehow I felt they have this inbuilt feeling of guilt. If I stay in corporate, I feel guilty about being a mother. But if I leave that, I feel guilty that, I'm losing my advantageous position. I know the
Yeah.
network, I can make money.
Yeah.
So this dilemma, not with everybody, I'm sure, but, I have sensed this. And the same time, if they are unable to take care of their physical and mental well-being, emotional,
Yeah.
etc.,
Yeah.
along with this guilt, it's a whole new, difficulties and challenges they build for themselves. Of course, it's very inside job. So I think
Mm-hmm.
some of these things are extremely critical. Some of these habits for them to feel not so guilty, to focus on progress, to make a decision, and just live with the consequence of not feeling guilty, but a sense of pride. You're doing the best you can, but you can't be perfect mother, perfect corporate lady at the same time. And there is nothing wrong with it. You're doing the best that you can.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. What you are telling me right now reminds me one of the interviews of Indra Nui, where she candidly said that women can't have it all and are screwed when it comes to work-life balance. And being a woman, I can correlate, I can identify with this statement very much. However, as far as you have pointed out, the factor of guilty, feeling guilty, that okay, either I'm able to manage my home perfectly or able to do my corporate job perfectly, but when it comes to striking a balance between both, somewhere I fail. I mean, this is a general feeling which most of the women, working women, carry in them. So, Krishna, I really want to focus on this particular point where we are specifically, focused on organization vis-a-vis working women. How do you see the role of organizations and corporate in supporting the well-being of their female employees? And according to you, are there any best practices or sort of examples from your book that you can share?
Yes. So before I answer that question, I want to highlight one particular key word that you said in your last statement. When you said, this is what we want to come back, but we feel like we failed. That
Hmm.
failure is a reflection of your emotion of guilt.
Hmm.
Like, it's not a failure, because as Indra Nooyi, as you know, she's worked hard, and she's been, as a receptionist, she's worked in the hotel, her formative years, she's
Yeah.
worked really hard, but at
Yes.
the same time, she's given to her husband and kids, and she's very vocal about it. So
Hmm.
you don't need to feel that it's a failure. It is a journey, and sometimes you need to have a pit stop.
Yeah.
That is a renewal, that is a rejuvenation, that is going to make your journey even better. But then
Hmm.
if taking a pit stop is making you feel guilty, then it's not the right perception.
Hmm.
According to me, I'm not being judgmental. That is
Hmm.
okay, because you need that breather. And also I want to add, in the process of career and motherhood, most of the time, based on my conversation with my
Hmm.
clients and friends, they ignore their well-being, the me time, the recuperation, the
Hmm.
body, the relaxation, the reading up, the hobbies. So
Hmm.
the individual is almost eclipsed.
Hmm.
The
Hmm.
career and motherhood is highlighted.
Hmm.
Now it's very simple. I mean, logically it makes sense. If the individual is absent,
Hmm.
obviously it's going to affect your career and
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
the focus, as I said, whether at a corporate level or otherwise, the focus should be on the individual and the emotional fitness, I would say, well-being
Hmm.
of the individual.
Hmm.
That is primary because that is fundamental for for you to have a productivity at the finance, I mean at the career level at work,
Hmm.
and also being able to be happy. You don't want to be hung out dry when you're with kids, and so again it's a guilt, like I'm tired. So you
Hmm.
want to have energy and time at home and at work as well. So unless
Hmm.
you take care of your body and your mind
Hmm.
and emotions, how are you going to represent yourself at your as your best self? That's the
Yeah,
question.
absolutely. But at the same time, even I'm curious to understand, out of the 24 hours that we have at our hand, 8 hours at least we need to for sleep, on to take care or to take some rest. Then remaining 16 hours, 8 to 9 hours we are spending in organization. Even here, if I'm excluding the traveling time, I'm just considering that traveling time is almost zero, or we are working virtually. Now, remaining 8 hours, you have to manage your family, your kids, yourself. Do you really feel it is possible?
Absolutely. Now, one of the reasons is that we find it as challenging is because we bifurcate 24 hours into 888.
Hmm.
Whereas I wouldn't want to bifurcate the sleep time 8, because then you're horizontal, you're sleeping, you don't want any cognitive activities, because that is important for you to
Hmm.
rejuvenate, for your body hormones to the growth hormones and everything else. Memory consolidation. Sleep is very important. So 8 hours, you leave that. Then you have 16 hours.
Hmm.
Now, when you say commutation,
Hmm.
let's say 1 hour or whatever, 1 to 3 hours of commute,
Hmm.
that can be utilized for many things. Listening to the podcast, reading maybe not reading a book, but depends on how you travel. If you can read a
Absolutely.
book, you can listen, you can even take notes. It can be used for you know probably being grateful. There are many things that you can squeeze out during commute, and there are small pockets of time at work as well. Trust me,
Hmm.
when you look at minute by minute, if you were to document what you do during the 8 hours at work, you'll
Hmm.
know that you can at least squeeze out 30 minutes to 1 hour easily, which is
Hmm.
just, it's called time leak. Maybe
Hmm.
you're catching up with friends, or, going for a smoke or coffee, or you're just browsing, scrolling. So you
Hmm.
got to be extremely conscious. These are habits, right? So uh, there are three things that I think is really important. Where you are, which is the environment, dictates who you are with, the people that
Hmm.
you will surround. Who you are with will dictate what habits you will imbibe from them, because you are a reflection of the people that you surround with usually, and
Yes.
those habits can be negative or positive for you depending on what works for you or
Hmm.
what does not.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
you have to choose your company, where you work. If your workplace is toxic, not necessarily corporate, wherever it is, maybe
Hmm.
it's polluted city. So if it's toxic, you change. So you change your environment, because then you will have a different set of people, different set of habits, and you become somebody else. So you have
Hmm.
to prioritize. This is where I am, but this is where I
Hmm.
want to go.
Hmm.
It's
Hmm.
extremely difficult for somebody to be productive in an unproductive and toxic environment. For example, it
Hmm.
can be a
Hmm.
mother-in-law, it can be a corporate place, it can be a polluted city, whatever. I'm not pointing out mother-in-law in particular, but I'm saying just for the sake
Hmm.
of it, right, the fun element, you get the drift. So the first thing is, where should I be, and who
Hmm.
should I be with? Like,
Hmm.
who are my role models, who I
Hmm.
want to be like, whether it is entrepreneurship, fitness, whatever. So you have to hire coaches. You need to read books and podcasts based on where you want to go and where you are. So you need to bridge the gap. You have to
Hmm.
look at what they're doing differently than I am. Where are
Hmm.
they, and how is it? For example, if you are a fundamental science student, like STEM,
Hmm.
physics,
Hmm.
then
Hmm.
a campus education. You need to be in a campus in Indian of Science or IIT. So it's
Hmm.
green, and you have fellow people, and you have the canteen. You can think about it. You can go for a walk. It's cognitively You need to be in a cognitively stimulating environment.
Right.
Library. Then your productivity and your food habits and your sleep cycle, everything is different.
Right.
It's optimized. So how do you optimize your environment and the people and the habits of those people that you want to have or borrow?
Right.
That's a question you need to ask. It's going to be difficult, but not impossible. That
Right.
switch, unless you make that switch, it's going to be difficult.
Okay. Okay. So, I mean, we are talking 360-degree view of working women life. And in this 360 view, where do you see the role of leaders and managers who are actually keen to create more supportive environment for well-being of their female employees in their organization? Where do you see their role?
Personally, this is my individual opinion. I think you can't bifurcate um, an organization just to the building or the working hours,
Hmm.
because, like you said, it's a 360-degree, right? What happens when they go home?
Hmm.
Their happiness once they leave the office and once they're back into the office is paramount importance at the office for their productivity at the office, right?
Right.
It is actually in, I would take the example of Tata's or Lulu Group, Kerala. Like you got to invest in the people, or even Virgin, Richard Branson's Virgin Atlantic. If you take care of your employees or the people, they will take care of your business. Uh,
Right.
to that extent, you need to invest in your well-being, because that is a profitable endeavor. Because if they are unhealthy, they're going to be less productive. If they're unhappy with their bosses or the work culture, they're going to do the minimum, to get the work done.
Hmm.
So I think it is in the best interest of the organization to create an environment for people to be happy and productive at the same time.
Hmm. So, what are some of the strategies that you would like to suggest leaders, managers who are actually curious to get into it and want to really improve environment for working women, and they feel that there is tremendous amount of politics? Of course, to some extent it is inevitable, it is going to be there, you can't do anything about it, it's a common story across the world. However, to reduce it, to minimize it to some extent, when it comes to especially diversity, inclusion, especially being a woman, if you get back to workforce and you feel that the entire environment has changed and people are not so ready to accept you as someone, they treat you like a fresher, like a redundant resource. What would you advise such managers? What do you do in such situation?
That's a tough one, and I'll be very candid here. I think it depends on the maturity of the person, the wisdom, and the perception, the vision of the company and the people, right? Because
Hmm.
as an individual, if I talk about my business or my family business, I hire not on the basis of skills,
Hmm.
but values first. Does this person understand the values my family business or my business or my vision of the business entails?
Hmm.
Plus, if the values are not there, then just having skills, I'm not happy. I will not hire them. But if I have values plus the skill that I'm looking at, because skills can be trained, you can send them for courses and you can upskill them. But
Hmm.
values, it's more or less kind of watertight. They're fixed with it. So I would spend, say, 70% of the time looking for during recruitment, looking for the values the person has, because
Hmm.
that's kind of fixed. And then if it comes along with the skills, I'm happy. Otherwise, I'm more than happy to invest in the person for upskilling them.
Hmm.
Having said that, you also have their strength and weakness. You can get their personality test and all of that. So you will know what's the best way that person function. Is an outdoor person, extrovert, introvert kind of a thing.
Hmm.
Does he like to have energy things, or is he more of a thinker come doer? So this, I think, there are people are already doing at an organization level.
So there can be some tailor-made solutions that suits your need. You know, I have seen that the biggest issue is, people around you. Uh, y- I mean, most of the times you want to go back to the same organization you left. Most of the times I have seen, because you can say it's convenient for ladies to go back to the organization because the environment is familiar. You know the people around, and you feel like that. You would be welcomed back. But by the time you go back, you find that half of the staff, half of the colleagues of yours, they have left the organization, and those people have been replaced with a newer one. And those newer one feel that, okay, you raised very important point of upskilling. But other than upskilling, how do you train, how do you kind of coach other people to welcome the person who is joining back the workforces?
Um, I have a different view about the Dr. Rajni on this because of two reasons, which we didn't touch upon earlier. But your last statement made me think about it. You said you would go back to the same environment because it is familiar. Now,
Yeah,
familiarity is not your best friend necessarily all the time.
absolutely. Yeah.
In fact, comfort zone, getting out of your familiarity is when you grow. Not
Mm,
necessarily all the time, but most of the time that is the truth because you're uncomfortable and you have a vision, you have goal, and then spend enough time with the new
mm.
thing that also will become familiar.
Yes, yes.
So more often than not, familiarity leads to kind of regress.
Uh-huh.
And that is why you miss the people you're not welcome, you feel not welcome. Actually, the fact that is, if you embrace unfamiliarity and going out and seek something new, it's actually good for the brain.
Mm,
At neurological level, you have new pathways and your cognitive abilities enhances, which is why for elderly people, they are
mm,
subscribed to advice to play chess or
mm,
dance, so that it keeps active. But
mm,
familiarity, basically trim down your, the neurons at the level because it's the same thing. Because the
mm.
brain wants to optimize, they want to save
Yeah,
energy and things like that. It shrinks basically the activities up there. So
right.
diversity and going out of a comfort zone is actually recommended. That is one.
Mm,
Second thing is what I feel is that most of the people are not living their ikigai. What I mean
yeah.
by that is your passion is different, your skills are different, and your earning potential is different. If there is a way to combine from a school level onwards, if
Mm,
you can marry your skills and passion, and you can fill a market need that pays you, you would definitely by default be happy
right.
because you're living with your values, you're making money out of it, you're passionate about it, you have energy levels. So I think that is very important at a fundamental level, because the rest of the questions is very at a peripheral level, right? It is symptomatic. We
Yeah,
can't go on treating the symptoms. Let's go to the cause, the root cause, and say people are unhappy, they're just doing the job because it pays you well. That
right.
itself is a I think wrong approach, I would say, because you don't know any better. If you had skills to marry your skills plus your passion and then fill up a market need, for example,
Yeah,
so you'd
yeah.
be the happiest person. So you'll be a happy mother either ways. You'll be a happy person at workplace because you're under say you're happy, from within you are very happy, so you want to give your best. I think that is a long term solution. That is what I would suggest, and that will take care of all the surface level symptoms.
So, Krishna, other than covering the emotional well being of working women, what else have you tried to cover through your book when it comes to the whole well being of women? Can you please highlight that?
So the book per se is divided into four chapters, let's say. So I have well-being habits for the mind, body, productivity or work,
Yeah,
finance or money. So it kind of takes care of your body, mind, work, and money as well. Because
mm,
if your mind goes for a toss, it will be reflected in your body. If your body is going haywire, then productivity is not happening, then money is affected. So I
right.
think that order itself is important
Yeah,
for you to have an overall, because you can't have one and not have the other. So it's
absolutely.
divided into four chapters, and there is also a section where I describe how to form a habit so that it is consistent. So a resolution and willpower is different from a habit. So it's very behavior driven. It's very
Mm,
scientific. How do
mm,
you? What is a bad habit? I mean, how do you form a habit that does not stick versus how do you customize your habit so that it becomes permanent or automatic? In the short term,
right,
in the long term, automatic for sure. So there are certain methods that you can use to form a habit in the long run, because we all jump in for a few days and weeks and we get out. uh,
right,
I think people need to be more aware and adopt the right way of forming habits so that it stays longer.
right. I remember in one of the previous conversation, you told me that you really don't like using the word mental health. You rather prefer to use well-being because you believe that the term mental health carries sort of a negative connotation with itself, and it creates social stigma attached to it, which is already a lot in the society. And I couldn't agree with you more on it. However, at times I feel that for the better understanding of masses, we have to use these cliche terminologies at times because they associate the problem with those cliche terminologies only. Maybe they will take the word well-being only as very light term, because when it comes instantly the word mental, they associate it at different levels. And mental health, Krishna, is definitely one of the crucial aspects of well-being of everyone, as we have been discussing about it. How does your book approach the mental health challenges faced by working women, and the kind of advice you offer through your book, especially mental well-being aspect? Yeah.
Yeah, so I'll answer this in two parts. I don't have a problem in you or people using mental well-being because it's like a currency, right? I see it as a vocabulary,
Yeah.
right? You go to Spain, they speak Spanish. If you go to Tibet, they speak Tibetan. So what goes, no problem. But what is more important is not the words that we use, but the content that we are communicating with each other. So, and I
Yes.
think going back to the earlier example that I gave you, the toxicity, comfort level, going back to the same organization, I feel that is symptomatic. I
Hmm.
am interested in having at a cost level or a root cause, which is ikigai in the earlier use case that you had mentioned. But in this case, if you take care of your mind, like for example, if you are living your ikigai, you are doing your passion, your skills, your money is coming in, obviously your emotions are in place. When your emotions are in place, your cognition is not thinking of how do I get out of this toxic situation, how do I get out of the manipulation of my bosses, or how do I manipulate this person, what is the strategy, those words, what's the short term tactics that I go to use to get this output that I want. It's a lot of cognitive activity gone to waste, I feel
Mhm.
personally,
Mhm.
because if
Mhm.
you're living your values, this bunch or this work is not for me because I don't subscribe to those values. Then this kind of persons, people, this kind of work, this kind of place is what is best suited based on my values. So clearly, your emotions will be in place if you are acting in accordance with your values. So I always want to go back to the fundamentals, uh,
Mhm.
and then from there, everything that you have dissonance with, or
Yeah.
disagreement with, or challenging with, if you go back to the fundamentals,
Mhm.
it will solve it temporarily and permanently as well. For example,
Mhm.
if you are lacking in sleep, and
Mhm.
you're dehydrated,
Yeah.
doesn't matter the money and the productivity and the you are suffering, you're burning out. Go back to fundamentals: rest, hydrate yourself, sleep well, exercise. Fundamentals. I think that people need to understand, otherwise you're going to feel burned out.
Right, right. So you have used a beautiful terminology, ikigai, which is very insightful terminology. And I'm sure most of the people who are interested in some sort of well-being or evolving themselves, they know the meaning of this terminology. However, I would love if you could redefine this terminology, ikigai, you could simplify it for the understanding of our viewers.
Yeah, sure. But before I answer that question, I'm not saying that everybody will be able to live their best ikigai life. Temporarily, even I have done, because it's a journey. So you might have to give your passion with no money, and then come back, upskill yourself and get some money, but that's not aligned to your values or hobbies. Then once you go through these ups and downs, you'll figure out, so I can combine these kind of thing, and then now that makes me happy. So
Yeah.
it's not like right out of college you'll know what is best suited for you. There'll be trial and error. I mean, that's part of the journey, right? Like, it's like how you learn how to ride the cycle. You'll fall, you'll figure out part of the fun. Then eventually you got the skill, and then you enjoy cycling per se. So I
Mm-hmm.
think the same thing with career and what you do with life. So ikigai, the definition based on what I like to believe and how I understand is this: let's say you're passionate about crocheting or embroidery or something with your hands that you can do, you are producing,
Yeah.
but it doesn't, you don't know how to sell it, you don't know how to market it, you don't know who will buy it, but you are crazy about it. That's what you think, that you're extremely good at it. Your neighborhood people, your flats and society says, yeah, this is amazing, she's fantastic or he's fantastic.
Mhm.
However, there is no money coming in through that, right? Because that means he's unable to monetize his skill and passion, because he's skilled at it. He's not just an aficionado, he's not happy about it, but he is good at it at the same time. How do
Right.
you monetize that is the problem that person is facing, let's say in this example. So
Mhm.
if he can start a shop on Etsy or some other online platform, and then if he can create a educational marketing videos on YouTube with
Mhm.
current platforms, it's all doable. And then have some tie up with some bookstores. So he got to understand a little bit of business or have somebody as a mentor or co-founders or tie up with, so that have complementary skills.
Mhm.
If he's, in a nutshell, if he can take care of his sales, marketing and finance, which is the monetizing bit of his skills and passion, he'll be happy.
Mm.
Eventually he'll have a team, then he'll delegate. It can be a tailor, I mean, that's a bespoke tailoring is also that. Then it's about positioning. You want to be mass level, you want to have to the highest level niche marketing. So you got to have an understanding of business as well, or
Right.
you have to associate with somebody who understands business, complementary skills. So
Mm.
I think these things should be taught as part of your curriculum from school, is what I feel, because you just can't at the age of 35, I'm like, I'm getting burnt out, I know the skills and it's difficult for me now, because you got to
Mm.
switch, and it's like you said, it's unfamiliar. So if you
Mm.
risk, you might feel scared and guilt.
Yeah. Yeah.
If I decide this, I have a comfortable life. So should I give up? I'm not sure about failing. Then might take 2-3 years. Log kya kahenge? Mera kya hoga? All of that. But
Mhm.
it's a awareness problem. Like anything has 4 stages, right? You have awareness, then you have familiarity, as you said, and
Mhm.
then you have skills or some sort of expertise. Then you have mastery over it.
Right.
You have to go through these 4 stages anyway.
Mhm.
Most people are not even aware of the business side, people who are skilled and passionate. So it becomes like an NGO. Okay, I feel good, that's a break, then come back, work, I'm feeling burned out, go back to the NGO. So corporate NGO, you don't need to. There are so many courses on Udemy and Coursera and up there. And I think now there are upskilling agencies, there are this startup mentorship ecosystem, and be open to failure, because it's not a failure, it's a feedback. So you learn a lot. In fact, the more you experiment, the more you fail, the more you learn, the more you grow.
Absolutely.
The chances of your success is much higher when you turn your failure rate high.
Right.
That's again a mindset thing.
Absolutely. So, what key message you feel that your readers will take away from your book, that you want that should resonate with them long after they finish reading? They should be remembering that, okay, we read that book, and that's the key takeaway from that.
One, it's there is enough time during 24 hours that you
Uh-huh.
can squeeze out for yourself. Number one is that if you don't invest in your me time,
Mhm.
it's going to affect whatever else you're going to do, whether it's family or work or money. Everything else will be affected if you're not taking care of your well-being, mind, body, productivity, finance. Then if you're emotionally happy, obviously your body will be happy, right? If your body is in good shape, you're taking care of your nutrition, and then your productivity will definitely enhance. You'll have more money, assuming you love what to do. This book does not teach you how to live your ikigai. That's a different thing. This is basically assuming that you have what it takes, even if you hate your job. This will enhance, this will optimize your mind, body, productivity, and finance wherever you are, however you are. Because
Mhm.
one, it's not a linear book. You can start reading from anywhere, from the middle. You open any page, you read that, and it's
Yeah.
done. So there is no guilt feeling of, oh, I'm not finished my book. There are 50 pages, 200 pages. No, you can start from the back page or the front, middle, and there are some key questions. So it introduces the topic, then it
Right.
explains what it is. Then there are some key takeaway questions that you have to do as a homework. Either it's a mental reflection or something you can write. So it's action oriented. It's more like a workbook.
Yeah.
So it's simple and easy. So you can finish reading one page in 5 to 10 if you're a slow reader, 15 minutes. And this is something that I would say that you should not read like a book. Refer like a workbook or like a dictionary based on what is your current need. You're feeling
Mhm.
burned out mentally. Okay, how do I relax myself? If you think productivity, I'm distracted at work, just go to the productivity chapter, and then there are about 20, 22 habits over there. Just scan at the headings of the habits, and whichever resonates with you, just read only that and forget it. Forget the rest. There are some questions that ask you to either reflect or take action so that you get better. So if you do the work based on what is mentioned in the book, definitely, because it's not what I am saying, it's proven. So the method works if you work the method.
Fantastic. And most important question, where can our readers find your book?
Very soon it will be available on Amazon and Flipkart and also Poti. Within a month it will be available online. I'll share the link with you. So we are in the process of putting that up on online.
Okay. Thank you so much, Krishna, for talking with us, and we wish you all the best for your
Thank
journey.
you very much for having me and have a lovely day ahead.
Thank you, likewise. So, Krishna,
Yeah.
I'm just stopping the recording. Okay.
Ji. You can put the